are. We're
Back again.
Yep. Episode 16, technically, of Helmets and Headbands. We are going to, we're a day late. Apologizes. I was traveling for work yesterday, so we're just picking it up a day later. Next week will be on Tuesday or on Monday, just like normal. We're going to start off with the weekend winner. We're going to add a new twist to it. The new twist is Jared and I are going to plead our weekend winners to him. And
Producer Kid.
Yep. Producer Kid is going to choose the weekend winner.
Just so it gives Kid a little bit of interaction here.
Yeah.
Right? To bump off the show. To
you
get
don't leave me out of the loop
to get
a
her
little
toes
bit.
wet. So I'm going to start off this week's show with my weekend winner. But before I do that, I want to shout out to Devin Hester. Just came over the news thread that he is retiring from the NFL. From the bottom of my heart, I cannot thank Devin Hester enough for the joy that he has brought me.
So many touchdowns
leads
from punt returns.
Yeah, I would say he leads the NFL in all-time return touchdowns. Obviously, the most significant was the opening kickoff to the Super Bowl. I always tell people that could have been the happiest moment of my life.
Was that in 2009?
The
Colts
Bears
win
Super
in
Bowl?
or
No, it was like 205 or 6 or
Was
something.
it?
It was
I think
a
2008
long time
maybe.
ago.
And that was with Rex Grossman at
That was
quarterback?
Rex Grossman at quarterback.
Where's Rex been?
But
Oh, wow.
Dude, I wonder where guys like that go.
where guys like that end up.
Best Buy or,
Probably on some
not hating on Rex.
coaching staff or like something like
Yeah.
that. But so yeah, I
Some of
just
them
wanted
go
to
into
give a little
coaching.
quick shout out to Devin Hester again. There was nothing more fun than watching a return specialist on your favorite team just absolutely dominate the league. Some of the stuff he did was some of the most fun I've ever had watching sports was watching Devin Hester take a return, 100 yards for a touchdown. But so that kind of molds into my weekend winner. I know I'm going to kind of sound like a homer here, but I truly believe this. My weekend winner is just the Chicago Bears' future with a gigantic win over the Bengals. Again, the Bengals aren't necessarily a team that people are afraid of, but they are a team that they have some decent weapons on offense. But the thing that I like to see the most was just our offense clicking on all cylinders. I think that outing that we saw against the Bengals, I think that's what the Bears can be if they reach all of their expectations. I think that's what Mitch Trubisky does. He was efficient. He was 25 of 32 for 271 yards and 1 touchdown. Jordan Howard, 147 yards and 2 touchdowns. So we were able to control the ball, not turn the ball over. Great defensive effort. Like I mentioned last week, one of the guys that I liked that I thought was having a good season for the Bears was Kyle Fuller. And once again, just all over the field, elite corner in my opinion, just from being able to watch him every week, the way he swarms the ball and just the way he's able to he's starting to be like an elite defensive player. Eddie Jackson again had an awesome strip towards the end where he's just showing the ability to just be a playmaker on defense. Our running back combo was awesome. Kendall Wright again had 10 catches for 100 yards. I think this is the exact culmination of again what I think this team could be, and I think it shows that. Again, we're not going anywhere this year, but I think with another offseason, I think this game alone could save John Fox give him another season just because, like you said, this is what we could be. So I think it saves John Fox at least for another year.
Well, yeah, and it would also give you, the fan base, hope towards the future, seeing them click on all cylinders like that, but knowing
in every phase of the game.
Knowing as a fan that they would have another off season to build chemistry, to work on the field together. For somebody like Kendall Wright, who has been kind of spotty as a go-to receiver, maybe they end up building a big, they could become a good duo there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That would be one good thing to come out of this is maybe keep this core together. Maybe get obviously a couple more playmakers, hopefully in the draft, but I think also it was good to see Adam Shaheen was the one who caught the touchdown. And I think coming in with this rookie class, I mean, Mitch had him, Tariq Cohen, and Adam Shaheen were basically our big 3 draft picks along with Eddie Jackson. But on the offensive side of the ball, I think that now that Mitch is starting to get a rapport with a guy like Adam Shaheen and stuff, and I think he could be big for us at the tight end position. Kendall Wright could be a serviceable number 2, number 3 wide receiver. Again, let us get a couple more playmakers in on the offensive side of the ball as far as wide receiver. I think the offensive line gets a little healthier. They've played well. So, yeah, I think after this week's win, a dominant win, a Bears team that doesn't put up a lot of points, put up 33 points and looked good. So my weekend winner is the Bears, just the Bears' future in general. Who you got?
Yeah.
Lipp?
I just want to touch on the Bengals quick. You said that a lot of people aren't scared of them, and that is true. But they do know that the Bengals have the other teams are aware of the potential that the Bengals do have, and they're like the Bears, where if they're firing all cylinders,
Yeah,
they can do that.
They have big
to
pieces
teams.
on offense. I mean, Joe Mixon was out with a concussion, which I think hurts their offense a little bit just because he was sort of becoming a playmaker as a running back. But Gio Bernard stepped in pretty well, kind of shredded us up a little bit. But I think this was a Bears defense that kind of had a bend but don't break type of attitude coming into the last couple of games. And now, I mean, that was a great defensive performance against a team that can possibly, like you said, bust wide open and have a good offensive game.
Yeah, definitely. My weekend winner. Now, I am not the biggest baseball fan. I don't follow it that much. Basically, when the playoffs come around, I'll start watching some games. But I listen to the Dan Le Batard show a lot, and they are freaking out down in Miami about Giancarlo Stanton getting traded up to the Yankees.
Well, and some of the comments he had towards the franchise probably doesn't make him feel too well.
And Guillermo, one of the producers, he is just infuriated with them. But I think the Yankees are big winners this past weekend getting him, and they basically shipped out nobody to they were making a joke because the guy's last name that's coming from the Yankees is Castro, and they're like, good luck selling jerseys down here in Miami with the last name
Castro.
Starlin
Yeah.
Castro.
And but I mean,
Former
they were
Cub.
they're a young team. People weren't expecting the Yankees to get as far in the playoffs
I was
as
gonna
they
say,
did this year.
yeah.
So acquiring another big hitter along with Aaron Judge, I mean, them two alone, that's like 100
And
home runs a
Sanchez or
year
whatever.
plus, you know. I mean, their team looks good as much as Derek is going to hate to hear this, being a Red Sox fan. But, I mean, the Yankees look good for
They
the future.
seem to be
and they're
set
young.
for the future, yeah.
Yeah, and, I mean, they could be viable the next 5-10 years maybe.
Yeah. Again, I don't know a lot about baseball outside of just
They have the
Cubs.
money.
I pretty much just
Yeah,
right.
but I
They
know
have the
home
money to
runs are
keep-
good.
Yeah.
And
I know when
Yeah.
the ball goes over the wall, then that means you score one
Yeah,
run. So
so-
I think like you said, having a core of Judge and Sanchez, and now they bring in, I mean, the best hitter by far. I think he's on the books for another 10 seasons, which should get interesting because you never know how the longevity of a power hitter can be. So you don't know if that's going to be hurt them in the long run. So I think this is sort of a move just to stay relevant, you know, now that they made that run that they did last year, but to stay relevant and stay in the limelight and bring in the biggest free agent that, you know, they could.
And I mean they have a big TV deal being the New York Yankees, so getting somebody, he's now going to become a bigger face of the league. I mean,
absolutely.
I feel like you can only be so big down in Miami where it's not a big.
Not
I
a
mean,
big
none of their
baseball
markets
town.
are that
Yeah.
big. I mean, the Heat were huge for a few years there because everyone hated them. But I
They were the
mean,
villain.
they don't have the notoriety like the Lakers and some bigger city like the Bulls even or the Cubs. But yeah, so I'm going with the New York Yankees. Producer Kid sitting over there
You heard our
behind his keyboard.
please.
mixer.
Here we go. I'm excited about this one. You know, I think you guys both put down some valid points. The Bears, I always like to see that being a Bears fan.
Yeah.
33 points. That's the most in the season. So
Yeah.
that's something to be proud of. Held
Absolutely.
the Bengals to 7 points. Unfortunately, the Bengals, though, they're kind of like a middle of the tier group.
Mhm.
You know, I'd like to see it get done against like one of the better defenses in the league.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something to look forward to. I mean, in the backfield, we were running the ball well. Trubisky moved the ball well. But yeah, I'll have to go with the Yankees. I mean, I'm not.
Wait, hold on. Didn't Trubisky get his first rushing TD on the weekend? I think it
Yeah.
might have been his first.
Yeah, he had a rush. Yeah, the rushing TD.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, got to go with the Yankees, man. They're building an empire again. Like they're back.
Yeah.
The pinstripes are back. I'm not parking my car outside Yankee Stadium anytime soon. Those they're gone, man. With Gary Sanchez, especially
True.
talent behind the
Yeah.
plate. I know they have a coaching change coming up, but I mean,
Oh yeah. the
everything seems
managerial
good in the
change,
dugout.
yeah.
But
Oh
Yeah.
man.
it's gonna work out well for him, dude.
I think so. Like you said, bringing in 3 big hitters. I mean, that's going to be a nightmare lineup.
Yeah.
It'll just be interesting to see the new manager come in there and
And like,
see if
yeah,
they
as
can
far as the
build
future
on
goes,
what they
dude,
had last year. Yeah.
Aaron Judge is God's gift to New York.
Oh, he's a giant.
As long as
yeah.
they got
he's
so
perfect
lucky
for that
with him.
market. Yeah.
Yeah,
God.
he is. Derek Mitchell is not happy about your choice of picking the Yankees.
Oh, I do. Sorry, Derek.
So that's
But,
your
busted
weekend
up
winner.
Red
New
Sox.
York
I
Yankees.
got the first one. We're gonna try to keep track of this and see how we go head to head throughout
Yeah,
the year.
because
Yeah.
that's what it's all about.
We have to.
No, let's move into some more.
yeah,
NFL
let's get-
stuff.
let's get
let's get
rolling.
into the meat potatoes here.
Yeah.
So big
gotta-
NFL slate again coming down to the playoffs. So a lot of teams needing wins. A lot of teams, that you're like sort of now that they're done and you now know that they're out. But a couple notable games that just fun, crazy NFL games that I feel like are worth talking about is the Steelers and the Ravens game. Steelers beat the Ravens 39-38 on a last-second Big Ben where he threaded the ball to Antonio Brown, tiptoe out of bounds, a game-winning field goal. I think this bodes well for the Steelers. The Ravens, a divisional team like the Ravens who always plays them tough. The weird thing about this game, though, I mean, if I had to guess, I'm pretty sure last week's show I predicted this would be a lower scoring game just because that's how that division runs. I mean, Steelers losing Ryan Shazier hurts their defense.
When I see
immensely,
Baltimore
but
too, I immediately think 17-20.
Low scoring games.
It's 20
of course.
every
yes.
game.
Grind it out.
Yeah, and those teams do not like each other. It's a big rivalry. So to see it open up so wide like this, I'm actually amazed the Ravens were even able to score that many points. But just an absolute gunslinging game. But, I mean, that just shows that the Steelers are hot right now. You know what I mean? They're winning games close games. They're winning tough games, divisional games. Towards the end of the season was when you need to be clicking, and it seems like they're clicking right now.
Well, they have Shazier out right now, and you can see, I mean, there's a photo going around of Big Ben holding Shazier's jersey as he's, like, walking out there, you know? And they are almost rallying around his injury.
Right.
And, I mean, that is the type of thing that propels or can propel a team
Past that.
to that
Just over
goal.
that hump, yeah.
Yep,
It gives
you
them
know.
that extra motivation.
Doing it for their brother.
Right,
They say
one of
it's a
their
brotherhood
teammates,
all
yeah.
the time with the NFL and the NBA and all of the sports in general. And you can tell that he's doing better. You can see his posts on social media. He's lighthearted. He's smiling and stuff. So I mean, best
Just
wishes
knowing
to
that
him and
he's
his
not
family.
seriously injured and that
Yes.
I think that just bodes well for the team. Just like you said, to rally around something else outside of the game that can really make them feel more like a family, and they have something stronger to play for than just a trophy or money gains and stuff like that. Another game I wanted to mention was last night's game. The Patriots losing to the Miami Dolphins. The score, it was 20-27, but if you watch the game, the Dolphins pretty much dominated.
Oh,
the
they
Patriots.
really did.
0
It
for
was-
11 on third down, the Patriots were. I don't like me and Kid were talking. I don't think that's happened since like the mid 90s or
they
It was
said
something.
on the
early
ra-
90s.
it's-
I want to say it
Was
was
it
like 91.
91?
Yeah, I think
91.
it was 91. So I think for the Patriots, it's not really that, because I feel like the Patriots always need that little piece of that little chip on their shoulder. So now coming into these last couple of playoffs, I believe, or these last couple of games before the playoffs, I think they're the two seed behind the 11-2 Steelers.
Yep.
So they're not the number one seed, but then again, I think just like the Steelers could use the Shazier injury to sort of use that as motivation, I think Belichick's going to use this game to motivate his team and say, "Hey guys, you think you're better than you are. You can't just come into these divisional games, even though we've dominated it for the past, 10, 12 seasons that we have. You can't just come into these games and win against a divisional opponent just any game of the week just because you're the Patriots." So I think Belichick will use this as motivation, and I think in the end this actually helps the Patriots because it gives them something to really play for. It's going to be a giant motivating factor for Belichick. Again, he's going to say, "Hey guys, in the NFL you have to really play up to your standard every game, or you can lose to any team."
Yeah, and that is so true. And I mean, it's just funny how Cutler just comes out slinging. And, I mean, he had like 3 TDs, almost 300 yards. And
typical.
I mean, I know.
I've seen it before, but it's just a matter of maintaining it. That's something that Cutler's never been able to do.
That's one of his better games of probably his career.
Yeah, and the
3 touchdowns,
the Patriots defense seemed like they were on the uptick. They had fixed what went wrong in Week 1 against the Chiefs, and now some of those same problems are starting to arise. Like you're letting guys like Landry and stuff, who's one of the most underrated receivers in the league, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
He should be on a better team, and he should be dominating. But he even does well on the Dolphins. So I think, the Patriots defense obviously needs a little bit of work. But like I said, I think Belichick will use this as motivation, and they'll be going strong into the playoffs. I'm not worried.
With the thing we saw about Kenny Britt nearing a 2-year deal with the Patriots,
I
wonder if that's something where he would become available for them right away, and they would have him going into the playoffs.
It should.
I mean, they just
why else would they be making a deal like that around this time?
They acquire people like crazy, and it does anybody that's giving up on one of their stars or that was like maybe a B guy, they're grabbing them.
Why not? Because they at some point, dude, Kenny Britt when he was on the Titans was an absolute monster.
He was a beast.
He was very good.
What's weird to me is why aren't other teams catching on to this, especially when people in the media talk about it so frequently?
How the Patriots are turning these players
into... They're the only
into...
ones that grab all these other people. Like, why is that?
I think it's part of the organization as a whole. I think when they bring in guys that have troubled pass or guys that have had spotty, inconsistent, times in the league, I think they bring them into the New England organization, and then it's just like the Spurs organization where they come in and they know that, hey, we know and you know that this is your last chance, so you either buy into what we are doing and you settle into your role on this team just like all the one of us do, because clearly it works for us. And you can see by all these trophies, you know what I mean? Take them to their trophy case and say, hey, if you want to be a part of this, but you're going to have to buy into what our system is, and I think the Patriots do that better than any other franchise.
It's
in
like
the
they're
NFL.
literally running like a chop shop or like a
Where
pawn shop.
Yeah.
They take guys that bust it up like that, and then they just
turn them out and burn them, and
put them in a situation
turn them into a
they need to be.
usable piece to their team.
Yeah.
Are there any other notable games you want to talk about?
The Vikings-Panthers game was really good. It went back and forth. That one kind of came down to the end as well. I'm kind of spacing on who won, actually.
The Panthers.
That's what I thought. No, I forgot to. I just have Vikings-Panthers written down. Cam Newton had a bomb game.
He had a bomb pass, too.
Yes,
on his
he
back
did.
foot, being pressured.
Yeah,
and
that shows
wide
Jonathan
open.
Stewart had a great game.
Yeah, he had a couple touchdowns. Adam Thielen's still
Oh
playing
my
well,
gosh.
but
yeah, the Vikings
Zorb.
I think are
Thanks,
still.
Zorb.
I mean, I don't think they should be. Obviously, everyone's upset when they lose, but I don't think they should be too upset with the loss.
I think it's the
because
same thing
it's
as
a learning experience. Like you're gaining this. Like take the loss now instead of in the playoffs. Build on it moving forward. The Panthers, they have just kind of been on more of a tear since the first half of the season. I mean, their beginning when Cam clearly wasn't as healthy as he should be or near 100%, was still trying to play, and you could tell he was trying to force his MVP-like ways on a kind of a hindrance with an injury. And now everything's coming around, and they seem to be clicking, which is
Jonathan
good for them.
Stewart the last couple of weeks has been what they've really been leaning on. I mean, this game he had 16 rushes for 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. So that sort of takes a lot of the pressure off of Cam.
Yes,
in that sense.
To be able, I mean, if your run game is there, you're giving him more time to.
It's just opening up the lanes.
You're opening up the lanes, and if they're worried about the run, you're going to open up the pass. I mean, that's why it all works together.
Yeah. But I think that now, like you said, since the first half of the season, the Panthers kind of stumbled a little bit. Weren't really anything to. You thought they could make the playoffs, possibly. Again, that division's a little spotty now with the Saints still playing good. I know they lost this week, but lost to a good Falcons team, or a Falcons team that's still sort of dangerous. I think the Panthers should be all right. I don't know who they have in the next couple of games, but I think the NFC playoff picture is gonna come down to the last game.
Yeah.
By half a game. You know what I mean?
The Bills-Colts game was fun. It was slow. It was
Winter
slow-paced. It was there was so much. There was like a foot of snow coming down. You could barely even see.
Yeah, if you
the
haven't
game
seen
being played.
highlights of that, you need to look
it up.
I
And
mean,
because
it wasn't just a light snow.
It wasn't a little bit of snow.
There
it
was
a
like 8
Buffalo,
inches.
New York.
Yeah, it was like
blizzard.
they were
foot of
running.
snow.
I saw a LaShawn McCoy touchdown where he just breaks through the hole and he's running through like a foot of snow.
He's high knee.
What I didn't understand is the white jerseys the Colts wear. Obviously, they don't have like a blue alternate. I don't know if they do, but
I
still,
bet they have an all blue alternate.
it was thick out there.
Oh, it was thick.
And like when guys like on the Colts were sliding around, they would disappear in the field. There was like banks of snow.
That's
on
a game
the
you
end
dream
zone.
of playing.
Oh,
and
man.
if you're like in Little League, we used to love playing in like rain games.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Never got to experience that snowy of a game.
I'm
but no,
out.
it's
That's
I
fun.
too
remember
cold,
playing
man.
a couple soccer games in high school in the snow.
In the snow, yep,
Yeah.
where the ball would skip and it would be rock hard. That's always fun.
Those games were always interesting. It was always still fun to play in the snow,
In the
or
elements.
in the rain.
Mhm.
I remember maybe junior year or something. We went to a tournament and it was all rainy and muddy.
That's when it gets gritty, dude.
It was
That's
awesome
when
though. It was
everything.
fun.
Everybody's miserable and it's cold and
It wasn't that cold, but it was wet
Sloppy.
and muddy. Yeah, it was sloppy.
So yeah, let's get into kind of. We both want to pick a couple of players or teams we think in the AFC, NFC are possible contenders who are real and who, the couple wins that they've picked up are real wins, even if they have lost. They're still real contenders. And then we're gonna kind of do a pretender who here at the end their record may show that they're making it, but in the end you'll think they'll fizzle out. So I'll start. In the AFC, I know it's kind of a trendy pick to pick them right now, but I like the Chargers. I think Phillip Rivers knows that he's not going to have opportunities like this in the coming. I mean, he's sort of coming towards the end of his career. He's had a great career. He's a great quarterback. He's a good passer. He's just not had all the pieces together at once. So I think right now their defense is playing very good. They have, Keenan Allen's turning out performances that are just seems like every week he has 10 catches, 12 catches, 13 catches. So he's getting more involved. They have a dual-headed running back, Melvin Gordon. As much as I still don't think he's that great of a running back, as far as compared to other running backs, he's good for their team. So I think they're going to be a tough out any game. I just think the Chargers are going to be tough to play. In a pretender I picked up, or I decided to choose, I know the Chiefs won this week, but they won over a Raiders team that's just absolutely collapsed. So I don't think that win means a whole lot. Kareem Hunt got back on and actually had a pretty good game, but I just don't think they're ready. I don't think an Alex Smith-led quarterback can win the Super Bowl. I just don't. And I know they've had a lot of hype, and they've kind of been up and down. Last week we had them because they were on their fourth straight loss. So they bounced back against a pretty terrible Raiders team. But who do you have for the AFC?
For the AFC, I chose for my contender. I did the Steelers. For some reason, I thought you were going to go.
I wanted to go like contrarian.
Yeah, well,
like that's I didn't want to go like obviously the Steelers are a contender.
Well, I feel like they're a contender, but obviously they are a contender. But I meant like they are the
For
real
real.
deal to
For
be.
real.
I think they could honestly get past
You wouldn't
whatever
surprise
the Patriots
you if they
have.
won the Super Bowl. Right.
Exactly. So I think they really could take the Patriots out of the picture and get there. I mean, the firepower that they have with
Their offense is.
with Bell and Brown and Latavius and Juju, they're all so good. And how do you defend it?
The best running back in
Exactly.
the NFL and the best wide receiver on the same team.
It's just I think they are not just a playoff contender, like, oh, they're gonna get there and do good for them type thing. I think they are the Patriots might be a little worried about how good the Steelers are playing.
I still can't get past that Bears loss.
Shout out to Yinks.
I can't get past the Bears loss because when I see that 11-2 record, I know that one of those losses was to the Bears.
Chicago Bears.
And
But hey, the Patriots just lost to the Dolphins.
Yeah, right. So things can happen, and that Steelers loss was earlier in the season too.
Yep.
So they hadn't nearly picked up the momentum that they have now.
And for my pretender, I did Jacksonville. I think people have really kind of.
They're 9-4. They're
I
in the
think
third
people
spot.
have really rallied behind them almost as a possible, not like maybe could make a run, some sort of thing.
Mhm.
And I don't see that. I know that their defense is really well, but they haven't really been playoff tested before to the point to
Right.
where would their defense be able to handle the pressure of
Blake
dealing.
Bortles especially.
Blake Bortles
is
throwing
I
a
don't
pick.
think he's a playoff.
He's a shaky starting quarterback in general in the
Right.
regular season. So
Mhm.
like him, even if the defense held up, having him as your like reign leader for, I just
Because
don't
you got to
see it.
score points in the NFL to win.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And him
and if-
getting you down there to score field
You
goals.
can't-
I
you
mean,
can't rely on a
granted,
guy
the
like
Titans just lost by the Cardinals, who kicked 4 field goals and beat
It'll
them.
happen.
But
It'll happen. The Bears lost to the Niners with kicking 5 field goals. So
yeah. But yeah, rolling into my my NFC contender here, I did a little more contrarian. I went with New Orleans. They
Okay.
started off slow. They're 9-4. They're right in the middle of the pack, I believe, right now. They might be in the 3rd or 4th spot. I mean, this is a team that granted they haven't won a Super Bowl since 2009. I remember I said that
crazy
last
Super
week.
Bowl, yeah.
But they still at least get to the playoffs, and they can hurt you on the ground. They can damage you from the air. I mean, they really can. They're almost like the Steelers. They don't have as many valuable pieces like the Steelers would on
Their
offense.
pieces are good, but they're not.
They're not that tier.
Yeah, they're still just a shade of the tier under. Even
Yeah.
though the addition of Alvin Kamara, like they couldn't have asked
Yes,
for that to be any better than it's panning out.
exactly.
And Michael Thomas has been good,
And then not only has their offense been playing well, but their defense, which looked like it was non-existent in the first few games of the year, has now developed itself into a defense that is, I mean, it's began to be almost a scary threat
Right.
for teams. And I think they could potentially come out as a sneaky contender in the NFC.
yeah. And for my NFC contenders, pretenders, I did. I mean, we talked about the Vikings a little bit, but I'll just give it a short. I mean, I really do. It wouldn't surprise me if they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Not even just go. I just think Keenum's playing well. Their wide receivers are getting open. Their running backs, again, they have a good 1-2 punch. The defense is probably one of the most elite units in the NFL. So it would not surprise me if they won the Super Bowl. Or I think they're the real deal, even though they lost to a pretty good Panthers team who's now sitting at 9-4, who could end up being relevant as well. But and I know the Packers have kind of hung around
Here we go again.
a while.
Deja vu.
but I honestly think I had them as my pretender because I know Aaron Rodgers is coming back. He's coming back off of shoulder surgery, broken collarbone.
I don't think they're not even looking at him to come back week 15 now.
Isn't he? I thought he was playing. Like he's
Oh,
off
really?
IR.
Let's get the scoop.
Yeah.
Anyway,
can you check that out?
so I think even if he does come back, but I think a lot of hype is still around them because they think that, oh well, if Rodgers comes back, then we can take this team, to that next level.
Oh
and
yeah.
I still don't think they're quite there. They have Jamal Williams, their running back, has kind of come out as a good, serviceable running back. Devontae Adams is catching everything. The dude's hands are incredible. He's become Hundley's favorite target, which has been great for my fantasy team. But
Still up in the air.
yeah,
for
it's probably not 100% whether he's
Dude,
going to start or not. But I just don't think that even if he does start, I don't think that it's going to be that magical. Like Aaron Rodgers comes back the last week and then they magically run through the playoffs. It's just not something that I don't think is realistic. with his return and his timetable.
Derek Mitchell says he's pissed at you too now.
Yeah.
But I mean, wouldn't you rather Aaron Rodgers just sit the bench the rest of this year and
He's
just
too much of a competitor. He won't do that.
I know, but in the
because they're
long
still in
run,
the hunt. That's
Yeah,
the
they
thing.
want to win.
Yeah, if
That
they
is true.
technically
That
they
is
still are in the hunt. They still have the ability to make the playoffs, and if they catch a hot streak and Rodgers is healthy, it can happen. I'm not like that, but I don't think it will. I
But
just
if you were
don't think.
if you had him as your quarterback, if the Bears had him, let's say you were the GM.
I've had so many Packers fans do this to me.
But like, would you rush him back, even though you
Oh.
are like in the playoff picture? Would you rush him back, or would you say, "Hey, dude, we
It's-
understand, but like, think about what you could do next year"?
I don't
coming back
think
for sure."
rush him back is the right terminology. I think when he's ready and if he gets cleared, you have to play him because you're still viable and you're still in the hunt. So I think if the doctors clear him, he feels good, and it doesn't hindrance the team with the injury and it doesn't slow the team down,
Then do it.
then throw him out there. Why not?
My pretender for the NFC I had was the LA Rams. I just think
That's contrarian. Everybody loves the Rams.
and I understand that, but I just feel like
I don't think they're ready.
they're
quite
also
yet.
just too young.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, they're balling out right now compared to what they were doing, especially even a year ago. But I don't think we should jump ahead of ourselves in thinking that they have what it takes right this year to
hoist the title,
be a
to
real
hoist the
threat
trophy, yeah.
for the Lombardi. I just don't see it at all.
I don't envision it either. I think they're gonna end up running into a more readied team that's done it and's been there and has a defense that can slow them down. But as of now, their offense has been.
That is going to be, in
girly.
hindsight, good for the Rams if they get to the playoffs and can even maybe get
Just
to the
to get
NFC.
just to dabble.
If they get to the, let's say they get as far as the NFC Championship game and lose, that's huge for them.
That's a big win season.
Coming
for them.
from
from
like,
where they were.
From like even or even way worse than
Well,
that.
and
I don't
just
remember.
where just the fact that people were talking about golf as one of the biggest
Yeah.
busts in NFL history because a number one pick that just looked horrible last year, and then they bring in
Yeah.
a new system with Sean McVay, and then now it's really kicking.
Yep.
But yeah, let's move into a little bit of NFL fantasy.
Yep.
We pretty much did a lot of the playoff picture and thoughts and all the notable games and stuff. So so if you're still alive in fantasy, congratulations for making it this far. It's the most stressful time of the year for fantasy football. I can say that it's trying to watch your team and thinking how things are going. You can never predict exactly how it's going to go. But is there any players or matchups or just anything you like or dislike coming into what's looking to be the fantasy semifinals for whoever's left?
If you're in need of a tight end, or if you're not in need, if you have Delaney Walker, granted, this is a little homerish because I am a Titans fan, but he is Marcus Mariota's safety net. Okay, we've talked about this.
Yeah,
and
we brought him up last week
in a press conference today. I think it was Marcus Mariota said he was pissed and he was upset the way he's been playing. Like, he took a lot of blame about his play and how he's been approaching the game and why he's been taking the losses on his shoulders. And they're going up against the 49ers this week. And if he's really looking to have a bounce-back game, he could lean on that safety net a little bit more. And maybe Delaney Walker, he's projected 11 points in our scoring format, which is the normal
just standard
ESPN PPR format of scoring. I mean, maybe he breaks out and gives you a solid, like, maybe 15 or 20. I mean, the last 2 weeks he's had 17 and then 9. So
he's not going to lose you the game.
yeah,
with
he's
his
not going to lose you a
consistency.
game.
Yeah.
But I also have been high up on Dion Lewis. I grabbed him off of waivers a few weeks ago, and he's been doing good. Since I picked him up, he's done 17, 18, 12, 9, and 11.
That's consistent.
And
yeah.
I lost, I don't remember who I drafted, but I've lost my running back. So to be able to find him has really helped me out.
A few of the matchups that I really like that I think the players, if you have them in the matchup, are going to have monster stats. I think the Patriots-Steelers game, the top two teams in the AFC clearly have shown that they can have points scored on them and score points. I think the Patriots coming off that terrible loss to the Dolphins, they're going to be clicking. I like Gronk's return, especially with the way he plays. I think an extra week of rest can actually bode very well for him. I mean, Brady obviously showed that when he doesn't have Gronk as his main pass catcher, that the offense is a little bit stale. So I think Gronk coming back is going to help the Patriots. Obviously, the Steelers, I think if you have some of those main Steelers players, like I think Juju will have a good game. I think Le'Veon, obviously. I think AB has a huge game. Big Ben could even have a good game. So I think that matchup alone, if you have guys in that game, start them all the way because it's going to be a high score. Another matchup that I like for one team but not the other is I like the Vikings-Bengals game for the Vikings pass catchers. I think Thielen and Diggs just chew up the Bengals because if the Bears offense was able to chew up the Bengals like that, I mean, a Vikings team, again, coming off a loss, they have a little bit more motivation. They want to be that number one seed in the East or in the NFC. So I think you could have a big game for just the Vikings offense in general. Again, I would start their defense too, just because I think the Bengals offense, they'll have Mixon back, but I think that's still a good matchup for Minnesota. My last one, which I have Falcons players against this Bucs team. I think the Bucs have been one of the teams that when you see them, your players facing the Bucs, you're like, this is a great matchup because I think Freeman will be great. I think Julio. I just think Sanu, Matt Ryan could have a good game.
Yeah.
I just don't think the Bucs have it this year, and it's pretty clear. But the Bucs, on the Bucs side of things, I hope Mike Evans comes back and plays a little bit better because I know I have him in one league and he's kind of been, not as much as you've drafted him for because he was drafted as a top, a first-round guy, potentially a top 6 pick in PPR formats. So that's another matchup I like. Do you have
What do you
anything
think
else?
about, I think it's Seattle versus the Rams. I believe that's probably going to be one of the higher-scoring games.
I have Todd Gurley, and granted they have a good defense. I just think with what they do, the Rams with their offensive scheme, they use Gurley like
Everywhere.
the Steelers use Le'Veon Bell. They use him out of the passing and they use him out of the backfield. And I mean, the last 2 weeks he's had 21 and 27 points in the PPR format that we're under. And I mean, the Seahawks are dealing with some injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't seem to matter who Todd Gurley or the Rams are going up against.
Yeah, they're pretty matchup
They're
proof.
still getting their points.
And lately with Russell Wilson, too, though.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Their
matter
offense is
who
quick.
you put in front of him. He
He's
has been dominating
he's
lately.
incredible.
Actually, I'm
He's so
probably
good.
one of my – if I'm starting a quarterback this
he's
week,
one of the
it's
best,
Russell Wilson.
Just
probably
because
against
that
the
will
Rams.
that's going to be a high-scoring game
And
just because it's a –
You can exploit the Rams' defense, man, at the pass.
Oh, yeah.
And he's mobile, too, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, he's as nimble on his feet as anybody.
I just wanted to say another one that I wasn't too big of a fan on. I picked up Matt Forte a few weeks ago, and he was doing pretty decent for me. The last couple weeks has been a little spotty, and I just think if you have
Just
Forte,
the Jets in general, it's hard to start any Jet.
yeah, it is. You should look to. The stretch where I initially started him, he gave me those. I mean, 15, 13, 10, 24. So I had a solid stretch. But I mean, the last 2 weeks it's been 17 and 5. So I think coming up against they're at the Saints. I mean,
Tough matchup.
yeah, their
Saints
defense has
defense.
been showing you why they're. I mean, they're a good. The Saints defense was looking like the Saints defense during Bounty Gate or whatever that was that went on. But yeah, pick up Josh Lambo, the kicker for Jacksonville. I'm telling you.
No, that's 2 straight weeks that Josh Lambo has been mentioned on our podcast.
I didn't play him this last week, and he had 14 on my bench.
That's
Kicker,
good.
a kicker.
Kickers can be huge for. But yeah, so good luck to everybody that's in the semis for fantasy football this week. I'm going to be looking to put up a big win against Zorb this week, so I need it. So yeah,
Going down.
let's hop into some NBA. We covered pretty much everything in the NFL scope. We got some cool stuff in the NBA portion. Today we got some Wolves talk. We got some Western Conference stuff. Really excited about. We're going to talk about some NBA stars under the age of 25. Sort of give our takes and give stuff like that. But a couple notable games from last night I kind of wanted to jump into. The Pelicans-Rockets game. I thought that game showed that Pelicans may not have the best record. I think they're even at. I think they're 14-14 when I last looked. 14-13. But so I think showing that they can play without Anthony Davis, and I think obviously DeMarcus Cousins just steps up. I mean, the guy's an animal, but just showing that they're kind of on the right spot. They have these games. They just need more consistency. They have games where they can sit and play with the best of the best in the league. It just DeMarcus shows that he's a star, and I think Drew Holiday's become a good player. Like I said, if they have more consistency, Anthony Davis come back, I think, because they gave the Rockets everything they could handle. But towards the end of that game, it just shows that the dominance of James Harden, because he can hit a three with a guy defender draped all over him, and he can swoosh it like he's sitting in a gym with nobody in there. So I thought that was an interesting game, just stuff that came out of it. And once again, I know we talked last episode just about the Thunder's woes, I guess. They continue. Yeah. I mean, they lost, I believe they lost at home to the Hornets. I think they were down by like 40 at one point. So I think, again, something's got to give with the way that team is run. The leadership from Russell Westbrook is apparent on the court. I don't know what is like off the court between those three stars. They need maybe a veteran that can really take the reins of the locker room, shake up the coaching, something, because it's just they have great players all around, but it's just not really panning out.
Yeah, that's very true. And they should. I mean, I think the reason they've kept Alvin Gentry around is because of his relationship with Anthony Davis.
Mm-hmm.
And
he sort of groomed him to what he is now.
With them signing Anthony Davis to like $100 and some million contract, I mean, he's got a lot of leverage. If he wants to coach, that coach is probably going to stay there, unless the owner wants to go above the star's head, which could sour the relationship, you know. So I mean, they're kind of in an interesting predicament right now.
They're just fun to watch because they're going completely contrarian what the rest of the league is doing. Instead of building around wings and point guards and, you know, ball movement and 3-point shooting, they picked the two most dominant big men in the league and they put them on the same team.
Yep.
And they said, hey, now try and guard this. And I think the experiment has worked. Probably it's hard to say, because I think there are times where, like, again, like this, where they end up losing to the Rockets. But I think it's just a good thing to see that even without Anthony Davis, that a Boogie Cousins-led New Orleans team stuck with the hottest team in the NBA for an entire game. And just towards the end, it just shows the dominance of, you know, James Harden to hit those dagger threes that he's just so known to doing. And one other thing I wanted to shout out just from scores is the Bulls are on a 3-game win streak.
I was gonna say they took down the Celtics.
The Kyrie-less Celtics. We had like some thigh contusion.
Off-brand Celtics.
Yeah, off-brand
General
Celtics.
value.
But Mirotic came back. There was a funny thing that him and Bobby Portis were a good 1-2 punch. Get it? Because he punched him in the face.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of funny that the organization is playing light, or at least the Bulls post game was sort of making light of the situation. Just by the way everything sort of unfolded, I think when things happened, when you see the headline of Mirotic breaks bones in his face from punch by Bobby Portis, sounds worse than I think it ended up being, because I think, as you can see, they've both sort of meshed pretty well. They've come back in. Now Mirotic seems to be playing well. Bobby played well, so they're playing well together. So I think that's sort of behind them. So it'll be interesting to see the way the Bulls sort of attack the rest of the season, because I know a guy like David Nwaba, who's been playing pretty well. He's been playing some solid minutes for Hoiberg too, but just some light at the end of the Bulls tunnel, I guess, for what we. I know that I just saw a report that said that Mirotic and Lopez are being shopped on the trading block as well, so I guess maybe get some younger pieces or some draft picks or something just for the future, but.
Yeah, switching it up a little bit.
Yeah, and so I wanted to kind of dive into just the Minnesota Timberwolves as a whole, because they have a lot of stuff that you can kind of chew on when you talk about, the Wolves. Sort of the main thing that I've noticed watching the Wolves in these last few games is that, one, they are a good team. Yes, they have a lot of stars. I guess they have a pretty notable coach in Tom Thibodeau. Who's playing, who's doing the GM duties as well. But I think the whole vibe of this team goes with, obviously the number one pick, Karl Anthony Towns. I think he's the guy that needs to even propel his game to even the next level. Because there's times of frustration you can see from Jimmy Butler when Towns doesn't slide over, he doesn't make the right defensive read, and he lets a backdoor in, and his ability to play both sides of the court is sort of not there yet. You see it in spurts, but his consistency issues on the defensive end are something real. That's the thing with him. He's athletic enough, and he's nimble enough. He's light on his feet for how big he is. He should be a better defender by now, especially with Tom Thibodeau as the head coach. So you got to wonder if it's something he can work on and become a better two-way player, or if he's just going to settle in and be like an Enes Kanter, where you're just really good on the offensive end. You can rebound the ball. You can score really well, but you're just never going to be a good defender.
Yeah. I don't know. Is this his second or third year?
Second year. Tom
Towns.
Thibodeau?
No, Towns.
Oh, this
Karl
would be
Anthony
his
Towns is his third year.
This is his third year. So, he still isn't probably what he's going to be. And as far as the defensive side, you can always add defense to your checklist of things to do.
Oh, everybody always.
It's the extra hustle you're not wanting to do that you just need to bite down and do.
Might be due to the minutes.
Yeah.
They are leading the league.
That's what Thibodeau's known for.
Tom Thibodeau grinds his starters down, man.
People to the
They're
ground.
all at like 36 or something ridiculous.
As far as thoughts on him as the coach and GM, combo.
The combo.
There's not a lot of successful combos like that you can really think of. So as far as what he's doing, what he's created so far since he's been there, I think on paper it's pretty good looking.
Right.
And you shouldn't really harsh him on that. You should give him a little. I think he's done a pretty good job as the GM. Getting the pieces, putting it together. As far as the coach, maybe in today's age with players bringing up so much rest talk and not playing so many games back to back and all of that stuff, maybe he's the type of guy that, he did put this team together. Maybe he should just slide into that role of GM and step away from the, hey, I'm going to run you until
into the ground.
You can't run anymore. Because, I think people get sick of playing for him for that reason.
I agree. I think you nailed it on the head with the fact that on paper, the team that he built as the GM is a very solid NBA team. The players that he was able to bring, the trades he was able to make to bring in guys like Jimmy Butler, he's taking those players that he knows from the Bulls, like Taj Gibson and Jimmy, and he's plugging them in, and they're again, Taj is playing more minutes than he's ever played in his career. Jimmy, I believe, still is up there and leading the league in minutes. It's just amazing that in this NBA landscape, like you mentioned, where there's been more emphasis on rest and letting these guys' bodies not just overdo it, because you could see that those Tom Thibodeau Bulls coached teams with Derrick Rose at his peak, they would get into the playoffs and they didn't have the stamina because they went through a 82-game season with Tom Thibodeau as their head coach, just grinding the hell out of them.
Yeah, and you could really tell they weren't. I mean, everybody talks about how LeBron is able to kick it into, and like they always talk about how it's weird. That it just seems there's an extra gear he kicks when he gets into the playoffs. It's just like there's something, and I'm sure a lot of it has to do to his diet and the way he approaches his rest schedule and all of that. I'm sure he has coaches and specialists.
That's such a
for
big
all of
part
that.
of just modern day athletics is the way that technology has like grown and the information that we know about our bodies and stuff, and the fact that Tom Thibodeau is still playing these guys this many minutes when it's proved that it doesn't work.
Do you think he doesn't have a choice though? I mean, look at their bench.
I mean,
yeah,
how
they
are you,
right.
They're 26 out of 30 for points off the bench.
how are you going to develop your bench if you never really give them the opportunity to get on the damn court, though?
It's almost like they don't have anyone to do.
Yeah, I like one of the only bench guys I like is Tyus Jones. I think he subbed in well for Jeff Teague when he was hurt. Coming out of Duke, I believe he was the Final Four most like valuable player.
Yeah.
When Duke won the title that year, he's a good player. He's a high motor guy. He can pretty much do everything. But like you said, it's just Tom Thibodeau's. So he'll play Jeff Teague 38 minutes because Jeff Teague's obviously a better player. But at some point, you want to pepper in some of these bench guys. But like Kid mentioned, I don't want to put in. Is Shabazz Muhammad a sexy NBA player? No. Like they don't have those. I mean, Gorgie Jang, decent.
He was doing
but that's the
good
thing.
last year.
That's the thing. But that just shows that he's having his
He's actually
worst.
off to a little hot streak.
He's having his worst NBA season because Thibodeau just doesn't give him the minutes. So yet he's playing Taj Gibson again, 36 minutes a night.
Yeah,
An older Taj Gibson when you can play a guy like Jang who's younger.
exactly.
You can supplement some of those minutes in. But
that's why I don't get it, because I didn't you have Gorgie last year for fantasy?
No, I haven't had no. You
somebody
had him.
Did I have him?
Yeah,
because
because I wanted to trade for him because I had Towns and.
Because I mean,
I had Towns and Wiggins.
So
I
he
wanted
did
the
so
combo.
good for me last year.
Yeah.
And
he's a good player.
I drafted him again this year in fantasy basketball.
He's a serviceable NBA player. He really is. He's just not getting the court time.
No, it's not, and it's heartbreaking because you know that he can put up those numbers. And like you said, he's that younger kid to where you'd think you would have Taj Gibson come in maybe in the crunch time moments. If it's a close game in the fourth quarter, you bring him in. Or
Taj has proven that given the minutes and the time that he's one of my favorite Bulls of my generation.
Yeah.
Just the heart that he plays with. He's always the first guy to try and get a rebound. He has a nice jump shot. He's pulled his game from where he was kind of just a high motor, good rebounder. Now he's built a jump shot. He's built a 3-point shot. He's consistently making his game better. So I think Taj is a good piece to this team. But then again, you don't need to be playing him 36 minutes when you do have Gorgie Jang, who's sitting on the bench, who's a younger player, who's proved that he can play in the NBA, who can put up good numbers and who can be a good player. So why give Jang 12 minutes a night? You know what I mean? Why not even some of those out a little bit?
Yeah.
So I think the Timberwolves, I mean, they're sitting at 16-11. They're sitting at the 4 spot in the West. So I think, again, they're not a bad team. Like, again, they're sitting in the 4 spot. So obviously they're good enough to be beating some of these teams. But I just don't think with Karl-Anthony Towns playing the way he is on the defensive end of the floor, he needs to just get more consistent with his effort, I guess, on that end, because he's shown that he's an amazing scorer, and rebounder and just playmaker on offense, and passer. So he's shown that he has that next level talent. He just needs to show it on both sides of the ball.
It's almost fun to imagine what they'd look like with like a top 15 defense in the league, you know?
It would, dude,
where
they
that
would
would put
huge.
them. They could almost compete with,
They would.
our
They
Rockets,
would.
the
They
Warriors.
would. Their defense is just, as a team, you would think with guys, defensive specialists like Jimmy, that they would be, in a better spot. But like I said, they're sitting at the 4 spot. Denver Nuggets are right behind them at 14-12. Again, New Orleans is, with that loss, they are 14-14. Blazers are still sitting at even too. So the Thunder are just outside though. They're just out on the outside looking in. 2 games under 500, which they're sitting down there with the likes of the Clippers and the Lakers. So I mean, I don't know where the Thunder go, but you said you wanted to mention something about the Spurs, didn't you? What do we?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kawhi's supposed to play tonight.
Kawhi comes
good
back
for him.
tonight. He's coming back. I just think I know everybody always puts him into the playoffs automatically because they're the Spurs, but I think they could really have, if health is on their side this year, I think they could really have the potential to maybe knock the Warriors off out of the Western Conference. Do I think it could happen?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Dude, the
Do I
Spurs
think
are
it
the
will
kryptonite,
happen?
Man.
I mean, I don't
It's
know.
one of those things where you wouldn't bet. Like, if you had to, like, I'm not betting against the Warriors, but with a Popovich coach team.
With health and stuff.
If Kawhi stays the way he's at.
Kawhi comes back tonight. I'm sure he's going to be on regulated minutes, which makes sense. But, I mean, they'll start building the chemistry back because, I mean, we mentioned it last week. LaMarcus Aldridge is been the focal point of the offense, and now that's going to shift. Maybe not right away because him coming back with the minutes, the usage rate might not be there instantaneously. But, I mean, once he does come back, LaMarcus is going to take a hit. And once Tony Parker comes back, that facilitator, that true facilitator. I mean, Patty Mills is a great backup point guard.
He's a good backup.
I mean,
I don't think he's a starter. He's a good backup.
No, but he's someone that can fill in.
He has that lightning off the bench, too, where he can go for 10, 12 points in a few minutes.
Manu Ginobili might be 55 years old, but he will still.
He had a game winner, didn't
he? He had a game winner. That's what I'm saying. He'll still win him games.
Splashed a game winner.
And he stuffed. Didn't he stuff somebody with James Harden in the playoffs?
Oh, in the
last year?
That was one of the most embarrassing plays of James Harden's career.
Oh yeah.
To get blocked by a 40-year-old Manu Ginobili in the playoffs in a big spot,
but I just think that. Granted, I believe, I don't know if you have it right there, the Spurs are
They're sitting in third, 19-8. 13-2 at home. Just such a good home court advantage.
I just, me personally, I don't think that their real strength has been seen.
No, I don't think so. And they're sitting in third.
Yeah, so.
The West is a lot softer than the East, that is for sure.
Oh, yeah. The Rockets and the Warriors have to legitimately worry about the Spurs.
I mean, you always have to. You always have to with a Greg Popovich coach team. Kawhi's going to be leading. Again, he hasn't even played yet, and they're sitting in the third spot.
You wanted to get into younger players, the younger generation coming up, stars under 25. You had written up a personal ranking I got here. But you wanted to do just a basic discussion,
a general discussion
on
because
the likes and dislike of the list that you compiled here, and I'll run through it real quick. We got Giannis Antetokounmpo, Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid, Kristaps Porzingis, Karl Anthony Towns, Ben Simmons, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Nikola Jokic, Andre Drummond. That's his top 10, and that's just Jared's personal top 10. He just rated them like that. It's however you want.
I tried to think about who you would want just going in the future.
And then some honorable mentions he threw down on the bottom was Miles Turner, Lonzo. Well, I guess they're all still under 25, but Miles Turner, Lonzo Ball, Jason Tatum, Zach LaVine, and D'Angelo
They just haven't
Russell.
busted through into that stardom area. So,
so who do you like and dislike on your own list?
Well, I think just as you heard from the last segment about the Wolves, I'm sort of a little bit down on Towns. I think coming in, people were just so much higher. I mean, I think in that GM poll that they do every year, he was in the previous season. He was like the number one guy that everybody would said they would start their franchise with. And I think this year he went down like immensely in that voting. Yeah. So I think if he puts the defensive, if he really wants to be a good defender, then I think he'll become a better overall player. I mean, his offense is going to take a hit, and I think a lot of those star players, they would rather be a scorer than defense, because defense doesn't necessarily. It's not the most glamorous thing to do, and it takes effort. It makes you tired. It makes you stuff like that. So I think the obvious number one is Giannis Antetokounmpo at 22 years of age. I mean, He's the Greek freak for a reason. He's a freak of human genetics. When that guy develops a 3-point shot, I don't even know what the ceiling is. I don't even know what the ceiling is. I've never seen a player with his size, his mobility, a absolute menace on the defensive end too. How long he is, like he's basically he's a 7-footer that like has the athleticism as a Russell Westbrook. So he's the clear cut number one. I wanted to keep Anthony Davis at 2 because I still think with his talents, again, I like two-way players. I just do.
Yep.
And I think Anthony Davis is one of the better two-way players in the league. How his ability to block, he has such a natural ability to block, to get blocks, and he's fast, he's quick, he can still light it up. He's starting to get that 3 shot. He can hit shots from 3 and stuff. And I think this list alone just shows how good the NBA's hands. We have so many fun players
coming up.
They're going to be coming up. A few guys, again, I'll just mention lightly. Joel Embiid, I mean, it's so obvious he's another transcendent player. At his size, he's bigger than everyone, and he's fast, and he's already has a 3-point shot. Like, he's a very good 3 shooter. Just, again, his ability to get blocks. And then I have Porzingis at 4 because Porzingis can go. He proved that he can go for 30 or 40 and just be the guy and just keep feeding him the rock, and he'll keep, burying shots.
The unicorn, dude. He'll keep chugging along.
He will, and he's raised his game this year without Melo being there, which I think has helped him quite a bit. He's sort of embracing the New York market. I know New York loves him now. You know what I mean? And
even though they were booing him when they got
what a crazy way the things go. Because just booing him not too long ago. Then I had Towns at 5 because I still believe that he's up there. When I originally made the list, I had Ben Simmons above Towns just because. But then I was like, take a step back. Okay, I get the hype around Simmons, but again, let's see him do it for longer.
That's what I was gonna say. Karl-Anthony Towns has at least been in the league for a few years. You know that he's not just putting up.
He's not a flash in the pan type thing.
Yeah,
and he's
even though
he's been able to stay healthy too, which is one thing that
people
have
predicted
to put weight
Ben
on.
Simmons to be able to play like this. It was just a health factor in the beginning of his career.
And then another young kid, Devin Booker. He's 21. He's the same age as Ben Simmons. Like people forget how young Devin Booker is. When he got drafted, he was 19 or 18, I believe. One of the younger players that's ever been drafted. I think
he dropped at 80 or what he dropped
70
something when he was like
70.
20.
So if you're able to drop that many points in an NBA game at any time, you are a special player.
Yep.
So I have Booker at 7, just for the young, because I think. And then I have Bradley Beal at 8. I was bouncing around between putting Beal ahead of him, but I'm gaining 3 years. Because Bradley Beal's 24 and Booker's 21, and I think.
Well, and you also have some injury issues.
Some slight, Bradley Beal has had that weird injury tick, and then I sat and looked at it for a while. I had Jokic at 9 and Drummond at 10, and I wondered if I should have put them ahead of those 2 guards and Booker and Beal, but then I thought, in this day and age in this NBA, a shooter, a pure shooter is probably more valuable than a big. That's just how we are now. Yeah. When you play a team like the Warriors, they can phase out your big man and make him like you basically can't even play a big against the Warriors. So I think having Booker or having Beal is more valuable than having Jokic or Drummond at this point, because I think Jokic does have more. He has more to get into. I think he has more to do with this Nuggets team. I think he's a great player. He's pretty passive. I think I'd like to see him take more of the lead and just really take on the scoring load and the Nuggets. And
I think even in 1 year, if you redo this list, I think you could see Ben Simmons and maybe Devin Booker. I would think more Ben Simmons make a substantial leap up.
But as you can see, those little chunk in the middle, Davis, Embiid, Porzingis, and Towns are all bigs.
Yeah.
Just because they're not the typical big. They're a guy that can move out to the perimeter, set picks, make passes. It's just it's that new age big. And I think Drummond is sort of that old school big. This year he's gotten more into setting high picks and rolls and flashing to the basket and stuff like that. But
look at that list though and tell me what you think about possibility of a future MVP of the league off that list.
I mean, Giannis is an obvious one for me. I think with the right teammates, the right coach, I think Porzingis could win an MVP. He could average 30 points a game. He could even win the scoring title, I think, at some point.
Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons is also
because he could possibly even average a triple-double.
And I mean,
defensively too.
Defensively, he's
dominates.
awesome.
Steals.
Him and Joel Embiid stay on the same team, it's going to be the same thing that the Warriors have going on right now, to where they'll take away from each other.
Dude, people forget they still have Markelle Fultz on the bench.
That's
if he
waiting,
plays
the number one
anything
pick.
like he was in college, then it's game, dude.
That's some of their scoring that they need.
Yeah, I think he has a shoulder issue.
It's some weird. They were weird about it,
that's a weird thing altogether. And then some of
also Robert Covington. No one gives him credit. I was just saying last night.
Great perimeter
they
defender.
need to give him credit, man.
Signed a really good deal. They're gonna be happy with what he gives him because he's an effort defensive guy, and he, like I said, he lives and dies by the three. He's not really a playmaker, but that's why they have Simmons and Embiid and
but he will
stuff
give
like
you
that.
fantasy points.
Yeah. And then some of the honorable mentions. I know the hype train was loaded with people on Miles Turner. Again, coming out of Texas, he was one of the younger draft picks. I still think he's pretty raw. He came in with an injury, and I think he's sort of given up his grasp as the number one guy on that team just because of how good Victor Oladipo's played. As of right now, my comeback player of the year is all day Victor Oladipo. He's showing how dominant he can be away from
most improved.
Russell Westbrook. Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Most improved, but so he just barely made it out of my top 10. I think Lonzo. I wanted to just mention him because he's obviously a hot topic and that everybody loves to talk about Lonzo. But I think what he's doing outside of scoring, he's doing a lot of good things. Scoring is always something that can be taught too. His shot can be tweaked. I still think it has something to do with his weird shot, that weird delivery he has. But if a guy like Kawhi Leonard can come out of college and develop a jump shot and a three-point shot and become a really good scorer, I think Lonzo can do it. Jason Tatum, I think he's leading the league in three-point percentage. The kid he fell into the perfect scenario. In my opinion, there's not a better coach for the next 10 years in the NBA outside of Brad Stevens. He's going to be the number one guy that everybody talks about. Pop's getting a little older. I still like Spoelstra. I think Spoelstra's a good coach too, but Zach LaVine, just because I'm a homer and I can't wait to watch him on the Bulls. I'm like a kid waiting to see your Christmas presents under the tree. I can't wait to see Zach LaVine. And then D'Angelo Russell, in a tough situation in LA, the LA market, just all that pressure of being a high draft pick and all the weird TMZ drama that sort of followed that around. I think he's going to be so much better in Brooklyn. He showed before he got injured that he was a great player. I mean, he's definitely worthy of being one of those top picks. So do either of you two have any other stuff you want to talk about with my list or anything that you disagree with?
I mean, honorable mention wise, Clint
miss
Capella.
Oh, Clint, yeah.
He's like, especially this season.
He's awesome.
He's
awesome.
very good.
He's fun to watch. Yeah, I'm
he brings a.
He's not like your average center too. He's a little thinner on the.
He is thinner, but that's the way that the league is going. So I think he's just going right with the league.
He reminds me a little bit of Joakim Noah when it comes to it seems like the energy that
energy
he brings.
level.
Yep, I can see that, especially defensively too.
Yeah, he gets after it, and I like guys that they take the defensive end of the floor very seriously.
Yeah,
you can see him locked down, and then in big moments, you know that their effort's going to be there. Yeah. They're not going to shade it off so that they can go get a quick three or get a quick. They're not cherry picking trying to get an easy bucket at the end of the floor.
Yeah. I think also I like that you threw Bradley Beal on there. Granted, he has had that little bit of an injury bug, but he is a special talent.
And I don't think a lot of people realized he was I didn't even. When I was sort of putting this together, I didn't realize that he's only 24. Yeah. He's been in the league. Again, he was a very young.
I think his teammate Otto Porter is quite the
He's been good.
He's also under 25.
Yeah, so I think I think the NBA is in a great spot. If you look at all those names, and we're still gonna have Durant and Curry and all those guys because they're not, they're still. Yeah, we still have a good core. Dame Lillard was just outside those that list, and
he balled out.
Kawhi's still even pretty young.
Yeah.
So the NBA is in a great spot as far as stars.
Kawhi's probably at 27.
Yeah, I'll say I think he's 27, 28, maybe.
But yeah, let's kick it into NBA fantasy.
Just to start that out, because we were going to mention in the top, Jahlil Okafor traded to the Nets.
Oh yeah,
for Trevor Booker and I don't even know what the integrals were.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nick Stauskas.
Nick Stauskas, you're right.
Okay.
Guy out of Michigan.
But yeah, Jahlil Okafor getting traded to the Nets. I just hope for Jahlil, who he wasn't really given the shot in Philly to see what type of potential that he would bring you. And so I just hope for him in his career that he's given that opportunity to showcase his actual talent, because he's more of the traditional big. And I know that people are trying to get away from that, but I think in the beginning he needs to be coached like a normal big, and then maybe slowly add the other aspects of the new era of the game, kind of like the way Hassan Whiteside has came along a little bit.
It's the big problem with Jahlil is just, again, his defensive. He's never been a defensive.
But that was a big thing with Hassan, was defense in the beginning. And, I mean, he stepped up more defensively, and not only, hey, I'm going to get you guys, I'm getting blocks, man. What do you mean step up defensively? Did you look at the stat sheet? I got 8 of them. But he's making his rotations. He's cut, and I think, like you just said, if he can step up that end of his game and
he's on the Nets where they don't necessarily have like the greatest centers. I think they have Tyler Zeller and
so we should have.
And they got rid of
opportunity.
So I picked him up in our league just because he's one of those guys that he's either a boom or bust. You're either gonna love having him or I'm gonna drop him. It's not really that big of a deal to me. So
and as far as Trevor Booker goes,
he's just gonna get buried in that rotation.
I wanted to say, because I drafted him, and he was actually doing really well for me. And then
I'm afraid he's in the droppable.
I was reading once that he got there, his minutes might drop a little bit. But I mean, his last 2 games,
because he wasn't like a blow your mind type of fantasy player. He was a very mid-level.
But through the year, he's been through the whole year, and our ESPN
ours is completely different.
Yeah, ours is completely different. He's only, I heard you mentioned, like in FanDuel they get like 70 points a night and stuff.
Just big performances, because they do bonuses for, I think,
random stuff.
Yeah, and steals are 3 points, blocks are 3 points.
Okay, so yeah, there's a big one there, but so I mean, in our scoring system, he's averaging 13.5, which is a good rotation player in the more bottom half of your
definitely
roster.
He's going to be one of your worst.
He's not a key
players.
player, but he's one of your. But I mean, since being there, he's given me 19 and 20 points in the last 2 games that he's played. So.
Oh, on the Sixers?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't even know he's already been.
He didn't play on the 7th with the Lakers.
Oh, okay.
And then, it looks like he made his debut on Saturday against the Cavs. And that was when he gave me 19.
So he is getting some decent minutes. And he's an efficient guy. He's not going to blow your.
Gave you 19 in our league. So
Yeah.
in other leagues, he's probably what?
He's getting 19 in your other league?
your league.
So in FanDuel,
you refer to our points a lot, and
yeah.
like an average guy in our league is amazing, or
so
better
he
than
would be getting
you
you a lot more than that. But yeah, I mean, so he might see a downtick in his minutes, but I think that since he's an efficient player, like you just said,
he doesn't shoot the ball a lot, but when he does, he gets like a little putback.
Exactly,
and I think he might make him viable.
I think he might have a high enough basketball IQ where he can have the realization.
I just didn't think he would get the minutes. I mean,
well, that's what I'm saying.
Because Jahlil, it's not like Jahlil was playing a lot of minutes, so it's not like they gained a bunch of minutes that they were playing. So I can't imagine.
Well, I mean, Trevor Booker's power forward.
Yeah, but there's Dario Saric. There's
Rashawn Holmes.
Yeah, Rashawn Holmes is playing.
Even if he takes that, what I'm trying to say is, even if he takes that downtick in minutes, I think he has the high basketball IQ that to be like, okay, well, I just need to be a little bit more efficient and pick my stuff better while I'm out there to
pick your spots,
take advantage of this. So he might. I mean, it might just be a little lucky streak with a new team, and he's liking the flow being with the 76ers now. Or he's just going to keep continuing to give you that 13, which I'm completely okay with.
Yeah. But as far as what it's going to do just for July, I don't think my expectations are I'm just throwing a lottery ticket out, trying to hit a
Yeah.
big one on Jaleel. So I don't think he's going to be anything like phenomenal, but he could end up being a decent, source of points and rebounds. But
For sure.
a couple other big, just people who have had a big week. I mean, obviously DeMarcus Cousins, but again, a player on kids team, Nick Vucevic, dude. The guy
It's the 3-ball, man.
he's incredible. Like he's again, yeah, like you said, he's sort of changed his game to where he's able to hit the three.
Yeah,
consistently
I think he's
now.
taking like almost 4 more 3-pointers a game than he was last
He
year.
had a
which is
triple-double.
huge.
His last game, he had 31 points, 10 assists, and 13 rebounds.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me?
Atlanta, that was against Atlanta though, and Atlanta's
been-
been getting
Atlanta's terrible.
dominated by the big men.
Yeah,
if
Atlanta
you start
can't-
your centers against Atlanta
yep.
people, they
Atlanta's been
cannot
soft.
protect the paint.
I've been meaning to talk to you. Every time I forget to bring it up to you in person. I cannot believe you're 8-0.
Yeah, let
in our
me.
fantasy league.
I don't really like to talk about
But
it, man.
whatever.
But
You're
when
gonna
you-
jinx me.
Drew Holiday also has had a gigantic week. He had 37 points against Houston last night, 34 against Philly. And even when he's not scoring big like that, he had 14 points against Sacramento, but he had 5 rebounds, 5 assists, a block. So
Yeah.
he's becoming a great point guard. But some other surprises just of the season and just in general is Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
He's been awesome on Charlotte. I'm pretty sure he's like averaging a double-double. So
Yeah.
that's always good. He's efficient.
Revitalizes.
Victor Oladipo and
Balling.
just 47 points, 6 assists, 7 rebounds against Denver.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. The guy, I think that's a career high in
Oh
points.
yeah.
I like Victor Oladipo. I've liked him since he got drafted by the Magic. I believe I had him his rookie year in fantasy. He was awesome. And then I've always been a big fan of him, so I've always wanted to target him in drafts. And then
Yeah.
last year I drafted him because I thought maybe alongside Russ he could be that number 2 guy like Durant, and because I think Victor Oladipo is a special talent. And I think he's showing it this year with the green light, and he's given
yeah.
Dude, he
he's-
loves Indiana too.
he loves
played
that
for the
crowd. That
Hoosiers
crowd
and-
loves
He played
him.
there.
Yeah.
You're right. So that's a great point.
It's where he
He's
wants
back in
to
his
be. You can
hometown.
see it in like his. Just
The
his
crowd loves
face.
him. He's really taking that team to the next level that people thought they would be a bad team,
Yeah.
not
for
just
real.
like a okay team. Like they thought they were going to be bad, and I mean
Yep.
with Oladipo and Miles Turner, they're not bad. They're not a bad team. They're not hard to watch. So,
No, they're not.
but let's go over some of the hot waiver wires
Oh,
from the
hold on.
last
I
couple
had a
weeks.
couple of big
Oh, you had a
performances
couple of-
from,
okay,
from
yeah,
the
you're right.
weekend
Sorry,
I want
skipped
to talk
over you.
about. I know Giannis has been talked about a lot throughout the course of the year, but I mean that just goes to show. I mean, if you put up big numbers, you're talked about a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a night where over the weekend, I believe it was Saturday, 37 points, 2 steals, 7 assists, 13 rebounds. And then the Clippers are a hot mess right now, but Lou Williams doing some big things lately. And
Hit
he
that
gave-
dagger.
Yeah, he
Oh
gave
my
you
gosh.
5 points, 8 assists, 2 rebounds. I have him on my fantasy
Lou
team
Daddy.
also, so he's been doing pretty good for me. And then old Zach Randolph turning back the clock.
So pissed. I was gonna pick him up on waivers too.
Over
God.
the weekend, he had 35 points, 1 steal, 2 assists, 13 rebounds.
helps
he's like
that
close to 40.
It helps
so
that
that's
Willie
awesome.
Cauley-Stein's out because he's
Yep.
just eating up all those minutes. But
But yeah, for your hot waiver ads in the last few weeks, who do you got?
I changed the last one just because it's not necessarily the hottest of ads, but Rondo.
oh
I
my
mean,
gosh, huge! I hate Darius.
It just sucks when you see one of the teams in your league that's already one of the best and they get like the best waiver pick.
I know
of
he's the
last.
best, I think, in our.
Well, I
division.
had
I had Randolph and Rondo.
That's what I'm saying.
Dropped them
You
both.
dropped them both.
I had Rondo.
Well, you should have. You're already
Rondo,
8-0.
Kenneth Faried, and like you said, Zach Randolph, because just in the last 7 days or in the last week and a half, I mean, Randolph's been like a top 15 guy in fantasy, which
Yeah.
is incredible. I never would have guessed that. But I just think because Willie Cauley-Stein's not playing anymore, or he's hurt, I don't know exactly what the extent of the injury is, but
Yeah.
now Rondo without Anthony Davis, he's taking on more of a playmaking role, and he's starting to do it, which just blows my mind because he's such an inefficient scorer. But when he's putting up the numbers he is because of his assist numbers. He had
Dude.
18 assists against the
He
76ers.
could easily have like a 30 assist game.
Yeah,
That's
I
all
believe that's the
he's-
NBA record.
And
he
loves
likes it.
From
He likes-
Stockton, maybe.
He
It
likes
might
the
be
assists.
Stockton. Or some random just
Right.
buster guy.
Yeah, that just happened to pop off for a
I'll
night.
see if I can.
I think
dial
it's
it.
Stockton. One that
that's
I got
Yeah.
is, or did you go over yours?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
I had those three.
I had Austin Rivers, who is surprisingly been doing pretty well for me. I grabbed him maybe a little over a week ago, and his numbers these last few games have been pretty solid over the course of the year. If you look at the average of the year so far, it seems pretty low, but it seems like he's starting to find a hot hand. And I mean, he's averaging, I want to say off the top of my head, like 30 minutes a game. So you should
Oh yeah, he's a
find
big
some
minutes guy.
rhythm at that point.
Just because Patrick Beverly's like out for the season, so he's always gonna have that.
And
lead
also
point
Bobby
guard role.
Portis, the old Chicago Bulls.
Oh, yeah.
He actually hasn't been doing too bad lately. Just gave me like 23 last night.
Yeah.
I was expecting to get like 10 to 15
That's
from
kind
him.
of yeah.
So I was really happy when I woke up and saw that actually.
But Bobby's going to be one of those guys that's up and down only
Yep.
because, especially with Nico coming back, Mirotic coming back,
He's
they kind
gonna-
of play the same position.
And he's going to be that type of person that you grab and maybe he's hot for you for 2 to 4 weeks and then maybe you drop him and nobody touches him for 3.
Yeah, could be, definitely could be like that.
But I mean, yeah, that's basically all I have so far. I've been dealing with a lot of injuries, so I've just been trying to. I already have one on my IR. I've been trying to like just stuff people. Man,
it's
it's
hard.
just rough. I'm
It's-
just hoping that other people have bad skids, and when my people come back, I can
That's the
still
one
make
thing.
a push for the playoffs.
Again, I'll say it every single time in the NBA basketball
James.
segment. You need to be patient
yeah,
in NBA fantasy.
19
You need to be
weeks.
patient because there will 19 weeks of regular season play.
and then 3 weeks of
Some of those
playoffs.
players that aren't shooting well or something like that, but they're getting a lot of minutes, like that shooting will come around.
Yeah.
Some guys that are on teams where their usage is high, but they're just not hitting their shots. Some of those guys that are, they're fringe waivers, but that towards the end of the season they could have a bigger role. So I like to snatch those guys up because I think
Yeah,
that when it really counts is towards the end of the season. Whoever's team's healthy and hot, 3-4 weeks before the playoffs is the guys who's really gonna
Yep.
take it home. But
for sure.
I think that'll do it for us on
Yeah.
this the episode 16 of Helmets and Headbands.
Helmets and headbands. We're gonna wrap it up. We just got a couple announcements. We will be having the disc golf show dropping tomorrow. That'll be coming out. We have a couple interviews coming up on that one.
Couple special interviews.
Yeah,
coming
we'll
up.
we'll announce that on the disc golf show actually. But yeah, and then take a look at TR Talk podcast. It's our friend Ryan Warner. We went to high school with him. Him and his buddy out in San Francisco have their podcast going. They have great guests. They just had the real Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan
Belfort.
Jordan Belfort.
Belfort.
Yeah, great interview.
Yeah, and so make sure you guys give them a listen also.
4-time Olympic gold champion Jordan Burroughs as well, wrestling.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, he's coming up. I believe.
He'll
Yeah,
be next
he's one of their
week
next
sometime.
guests.
You can find them on Instagram, everywhere else, SoundCloud. Look it up, TR
Yeah.
Talk.
Yes, and also go check out last week's episode of Log On. The new episode will be coming up here soon. So thank
yeah.
you guys for listening.
Yep. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you next week. Woo! Drop it.